Award-winning journalist Antonia Hylton is the author of Madness, Race, and Insanity in a Jim Crow Asylum. She uncovered inhumane conditions, the mistreatment of patients, and experimentation on some without their consent at Maryland's Crownsville State Hospital. It was built back in 1911 by its patients before closing in 2004. Now, this place was a microcosm of America's struggles with slavery, racial segregation, and, of course, civil rights. About 1,700 patients are still buried on its ground, the vast majority in unnamed graves. Antonia Hylton, we're glad to say, joins us right here on CBS Mornings. Good to see you, Antonia.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
This book made me so mad and made me so sad, and it felt so many different emotions when I was reading. And to think that this is a true story. How did you hear about this place?
I first heard about this place when I was just 19 years old. I was a college student studying the history of psychiatry. And I think I was pulled into this work because I grew up in a very big family of 20-something cousins. I'm one of 7 kids, and we were very tight-knit, but we really struggled to talk about emotions and mental health.
Yeah.
And
you said you had a wide variety of things in your family, depression, anxiety.
Right, and I knew that. You know as a child, but
Yes.
you can see that your parents and your grandparents really struggle to talk about these incidents or these memories that they carry. And so I think when I was a teenager and first knew how to go study this by myself, to discover this work on my own, I took the opportunity. And one of the things you realize when you look at the history of mental health in this country is that it's often taught from the perspective only of white Europeans and white Americans. And so when I came across Crownsville's name, I just had to know more. And what I found was this very American story in which Jim Crow had seeped into the medical system, and it had really changed generations of Black families in Maryland. And when you talk to Black people in Baltimore and Annapolis to this day, many of them have a connection to this place, but very few people have ever given them the chance to talk about what happened there.
Yeah, and talk about what happened there. That's the thing. Yeah. Help people understand how difficult it was. There was a Pulitzer Prize reporter that did a story and said it was the most shameful thing that had ever been done in the state. It was hard to comprehend what was happening to the people there.
Well,
we've gone there for help, by the way.
Exactly. This is supposed to be a place for healing and rehabilitation, but in those early years, that's not what we find. They brought 12 Black men into a forest and forced them initially to build this asylum, and they start to bring more and more patients in. And I think that tells you a lot from the very beginning, right? There are already hospitals around the state for white people in Maryland, but they're not allowed to get treatment there. And those patients didn't have to build their own hospital. But Black people in Maryland had to build their own mental hospital before they could even get any care. And it's not until the 50s and 60s when Black men and women first start getting jobs there, because originally they were barred from being able to serve their own
You said
community.
that there was a shift when that happened.
There's a shift. And what you see is they start to uncover the injustices, patients that have been left in wards, just unclothed and unkept.
The shock treatments, Antonia.
Shock treatments. I spent time with a woman who's still living named Gertrude Belt, who came in the 50s, one of the first Black employees, and one of her first acts of kindness was to sit patients down in between her legs and shampoo their hair and detangle their curls because nobody had been doing
It was so
that.
matted.
Well,
it's now closed. It closed back in 2004. There was a ceremony where people went back and said, say the names of the patients who were there. That's very moving, the way you tell it in the book.
Thank you. That is one of my favorite parts of the book.
Too.
And it's such a special ceremony that actually still happens every year. It's led by a woman named Janice Hayes Williams in Maryland, and it's open to the public. And she invites people to come and stand in a circle and say some of the names of the 1,700 people who are buried there, mostly in unmarked graves, as a way to help families who might be looking for loved ones and clues, and as a way to bring some healing, some recognition for a story that has been, so under wraps, so undercovered for so long. It closed in 2004 within all of our lifetimes.
Yes. Yeah.
But this is really the first time that it's being told to a national audience.
Is the hope and the expectation as this process continues that the unnamed graves will bear names and a proper memorial?
Well, I actually have, and this is compiled by Janice, all of the names of the 1,700 are in here.
Wow.
And there are a couple hundred, she thinks maybe 200 or more so that they are going to discover soon. But she is working to connect people and communities in Maryland and beyond with their loved ones who were buried there.
Honoring and remembering the forgotten.
And you also say if you swallow your pain, it never digests, and treated pain curdles your blood and changes your code.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to tell these stories.
Madness is on sale now. We'll be right back. Antonia, thank you.
Thank you.